Okay, hello, good afternoon. Let's start. Let's see. Last time you and I talked, we were talking about naturalism and explaining meaning in terms of causal connections. It looks so difficult to explain how there can be such a thing as going right or wrong in your use of a word in terms of causal connections in the way that Fodor and Brechke are trying to do. And then I guess, I wasn't here, Justin was talking through logic and conversation last time, is that right? Okay. And now we're on to Wittgenstein and looking at the way, trying to look directly at how language works, how right and wrong come into the use of language. It's quite a long set of selections from Wittgenstein in the reader. Have you guys all looked at the selections? Can you put your hand up if you've looked at the selections and found them difficult? Pretty straightforward? Okay. The thing is, this is very rich, this set of selections from Wittgenstein, but there is basically just 1 point, maybe 2 points he is making all the way through. It's a very deep point that he's making. It has a lot of resonance for everything else in philosophy, and it takes a little while to get it. And what I'm going to do today is just try and state what I think his main points are in these selections. But I think for philosophy, this stuff is for most of it the nearest you get to Shakespeare. I think for most, you know when you're reading Shakespeare that it's kind of distracting because every second line you read is a famous quotation. The Wittgenstein is kind of like that, right? I mean, it's hard to read it because practically every other line is something that's been quoted 1,000,000 times. But you've got to read it. It is so rich. And what I will try to say, what I think the main point is, that single point that he's banging on at about all the way through, is developed with such richness and such interesting examples and strange ideas all through those sections. Okay, so I want to start out by looking at the question, when we're all using a language, when we're all talking the same language, we all talk, in some sense we talk in pretty much the same way, we all use the language in the same way. And the question is, how does that come about? What keeps us all together in our use of the language we all share? And Wittgenstein's own positive account of how language is working has got something to do with the notion of a custom or the notion of a practice. But this is a difficult notion. It's a little bit like Frege's notion of sense. It's a very evocative notion, this notion of custom or practice that he uses, and it's clearly very important, but it is difficult to explain exactly what's going on here. So in the last two sections today, I'll try and set out what the idea is. But first of all, consider the question, what keeps us all together in our use of language? Suppose that you're trying to teach me the use of English. Suppose that I'm a child, you're trying to tell me about how the numbers work. You're trying to tell me how the signs for the numerals work. And so you're trying to teach me what it means for one number to come right after another. You're going to explain to me the notion of the successor of a natural number. So how do you do it? Well, the natural idea is, you say, well look, 1 comes right after 0, 2 comes right after 1, 3 comes right after 2, 4, then it's 5, 6, 7, and I'm listening to you doing this. And then at a certain point, something happens, and you say to me, now what number comes after 5? And I've got to say 6. And if we both got that, then there's some basic agreement in our use of the number words. Yeah, we need something like that if we're all going to be using the language the same way, that we all agree on which numbers come after which. That's okay? So how does it work? I mean, you're saying 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and after a bit, I say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But how did that happen? Well, the natural idea is something like, well, I figured out, look, you're adding 1. That's what she's doing. She's adding 1 every time she just adds 1. So you think of it like that. It's a little bit like one of these brain teasers. Let's see if I can. So suppose I do this. Suppose I write. Let me see if I can do this in real time. Suppose I write 2, 9. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm running out of mental space to do this. I'm going to take a super example. Suppose I do 2, 5, 10, 17. What comes next? Sorry? Very good. 26? Yeah, why do you say 26? Can you make that explicit? N squared plus 1, right. Okay. I was originally going to do n cubed plus 1, but I kind of ran out of mental space, so I about 3. But okay, so n squared plus 1 is easier. But okay, look, so now you know that it's 25 next, right? So I just taught you how to do that. Right? I just gave you a bunch of examples, and you brilliantly figured out the general rule, right? So now you can go 2, 5, 10, 17, 25. What's next? Oh, when I say 25, I mean 26. What's next? 37, very good. Okay. So you go 37, I go 37, right? So the natural way to think of what's going on with a child is learning successor is you're going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And after a bit, the child says, wait a minute, I get it. She's doing x plus 1. I can do that. So then, now you know what to do next, right? So that's what keeps us all together. In this case, the reason that we all agree is 37 next is we all figured out that's the rule. That's the way the series works. And in this case, when you're learning the meaning of the word successor, someone's explaining the meaning of successor to you, and you just figure out what the general rule is. And once you figure out what the general rule is, we're all working in the same way, because when we all say successor, we all have the same general rule in our minds, right? So that's the way language works. That we all have the same rule for the use of the sign successor in our heads, and we use that to generate the series. Right? That's pretty obvious, right? Yes? Are you comfortable so far? Okay, that's the view that Wittgenstein is saying can't be right. It can't be right. And the reason it can't be right is it's going to do the work of making sure that we all generate the sequence of numbers in the same way. So we've all got to have this thing in our head, this rule in our head that we're using to generate the sequence of numbers in the same way. But now, suppose it comes apart. Suppose that it's called on to keep us together. What I mean is, suppose that you're doing your best to teach me, and we get to this part all right. You're saying 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm being a good student. I'm sitting there saying 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm rattling it off just with you. And you think, by God, he's got it. He's really got it. You say, okay, let's do it a bit more. 21, 22, 23, and I'm going 24, 25, 26, 27, and you think that's great. And then we carry on, and once we get up to 96, what happens is you're saying 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, and I'm going 96, 97, 104, 3, 22, 437, and you say, wait a minute, no, it was all going so well. Right, this is what I've gone off the tracks, right? So we are no longer together, right? We're not using successor in the same way anymore. So if this formula is ever going to do any work, if this thing we've got in our heads that is keeping us together ever is going to get any traction, ever is going to get any grip to pull us together, it's got to be here. You've got to be able to use this to pull me back onto the tracks, right? So that's what you're going to say to me. You say, look, just a minute, the rule was, you go 1 plus 1 is x plus 1, that's the rule. And I say, that's right, it's x plus 1. And you say, okay, so it goes 96 plus 1 is 97, 97 plus 1. And I say, yeah, that's right, 96 plus 1, that's 97. And you say 97 plus 1, that's 98. And I say, no, 97 plus 1, that's 104. And you say, no, hang on, let's review the situation here. And I say, I really don't know what you mean. I'm just doing the same thing I was doing before. And you say, no, you're not. And I say, well, look, I'm just adding 1. 97 plus 1, 104, 104 plus 1, that's 3. I say, I do not know why you have gone off in this weird way up here, 97, 98, 99. That's really peculiar. Why are you going all over the place like that now? Why don't you just add 1 the same way you were doing before? And you say, no, I am just adding 1. But at that point, I say, no, I don't know what's going on with you. You were doing the same thing all up here, but now here, you've just gone right off the tracks. So the one place where this might really do some work and help keep us together, it actually packs up on us. And if you think about it, consider this formula in your head. This is just 3 signs, right? X, the plus sign, and 1. So what do those signs mean? How would you explain to someone what those signs mean? Suppose you're trying to explain to someone what x plus 1 means. What would you do? Could you, for example, define it? Yes? Okay, what's the definition? Right, okay, so if you can say prior in the series, right? But that just means the same thing as this, right? And I say, this isn't the number prior in the series. Yeah? So you've got to explain what this means in a way that I can't just say, yeah, that's what I mean. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So do you have such a way of explaining this? You can say, well, it's successor, or add 2 and then subtract 1. Right, so that's what I'm doing. And the only way you have of explaining what this means is to give some examples. Right? So if you want to explain what this sign that we've all got running through our heads means, the only way you can do it is to say, look, it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the way it looks at the start is, this general formula is what's generating the series of numbers here. But actually, that's not right at all. This doesn't control what series of numbers gets generated. You can only explain this formula by giving the examples, by running through the series. So this doesn't give you any traction, it doesn't give you any friction, it doesn't give you any grip on what comes after what here. It's rather that this just gets towed along behind whatever's happening here with the examples. These examples do all the work. This only has a meaning because it's tied up to the way that you and I are generating the case by case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So actually, if you look for the real situation as to what's going on, it's not that the teacher is going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I have this flash of insight, and I say, I got what they're doing, it's x plus 1. It was a brain teaser, only a very simple one, so I managed to figure it out with a sudden flash of insight, and now I generate all the examples here. Rather, what goes on is this. You say, look, we want to know what number comes after another one. Here's some examples. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you do this for a bit, and after a while, what happens is, I go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. This formula doesn't do any work. We just agree on the cases. There is nothing that explains why we agree on the cases. You just rattle off a whole bunch of examples, and after a while, I rattle off a whole bunch of examples, and nothing happens in the middle. I mean, if you do postulate something happening in the middle, what you find out is it can't do any work. It's just a dead sign that has to be towed along by what's happening in the particular cases. Plain enough? So we just agree on the cases. And this is actually quite a general phenomenon. Suppose you think of, yeah? You begin over again, right? Right. Yeah. And I say, that's what I'm doing. That's what I say to you. I say, I'm just starting over again. I'm just using the system. I say, no, look, you follow the system. It goes 97, 104. And then where did that 98 come from? But not in this context. Here's 7 plus 1, you get 104. When you put it together. You're misapplying the system. Any form of words you use, I can use too. Because the thing is, if you ask, how does your form of words have meaning? The only way you can explain what that form of words, here's the system, you keep adding 1. The only way you can explain what those words mean is by looking back at the examples. And I say, look, this is what it means. You see what I mean? Yeah, but I'm saying, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm not going off you're going off the tracks. Yeah. I say, this is really mad. How come you're going off the tracks? You were doing so well. You see what I mean? The form of words can't do it. Let me give another example. So suppose I'm trying to explain to you what the colour words mean. So I'm going to explain to you what blue means. And I say, look, I mean, this is what people do with children. It's actually very difficult to get into children's heads, but anyway. You say, look, here's some blue things. This is blue, this one's blue, this one's blue, and that one's not blue. We're actually a bit short of blue things here, but if, a bit short of coloured objects altogether. But picture, if you will, a whole bunch of blue things out here, right? And I'm explaining to you what the word blue means, and you say, okay, so I'm saying this is blue, and this is blue, and this is blue, and this is blue. And then after a bit, the test is, I say to you, now which ones are blue, and which ones would you say are not blue? And you say, okay, this is blue, and that's blue, and that over there is blue, and this one is definitely not blue, and so on, right? That's how it works. That's what's going on when you're learning a language. So what happened? How come you and I are applying the word blue to just the same objects? What went on? I gave all these examples. I said, look at this one, this one, this one, this one. And after a bit, you said, okay, I've got it. I mean, something happened, like you got an image of blue. You said, well, by blue, he means this colour. And then you got the image in your head. And you say, okay, so that image, that's what's fixing the meaning of the sign. And so now, whenever I want to know whether the word blue applies to this example or that example, what I do is I just check it matches the image, right? Something like that. You know, you listen to the person talking the language, and you're trying to figure out what they're saying, what they're meaning by the word. And then once you've got that, you know how to go on. You know how to use the word in other cases. But the trouble is, as before, suppose you go off the tracks. What good's the image of blue going to do? Suppose you say, what does it mean, an image of blue? You've got this thing in your head. And how do you know how to bring it to bear on any particular object you see? Really, all that happens is that you say, this is blue, the teacher says, this is blue, that's blue, that over there is blue, and this is not blue. And then after a bit, the people start saying, oh, this is blue, and that's blue, and that over there is blue, and this one is definitely not blue. And there is nothing else going on. Nothing at all. And if you think about it, suppose you're asked, well, is this cup white? What would you, now let me put it to you, what would you say? Would you say this cup was white? I put it to you, this cup is definitely white, right? How do you know? I mean, how do you know the word white applies here? Is it that you've got an image, or you carry about with you like a paint sample? You know when you in a hardware store you have paint charts, you can take away a paint chart. You have a mental paint chart, as it were. And when I say, look, now what colour would you say this is? You take the image, the mental sample, the mental bit of paint, you say, oh, that's the white, right? So and then you say, okay, no, it's the same as that. Is that what happened? When I said, what colour would you say this is? You consulted your mental sample and you said, yeah, it looks just like that. But note the difficult question. How do you know you called out the right sample? How do you know that was an image of white you called out? Well, you just do know, right? You just apply the word. I mean, it's no easier to apply the word white to something in your head than it is to apply to something out there. You had to be able to do, I mean, maybe you needed another mental sample. You see, you needed 2 mental paint charts. Or maybe 3, actually you need 3, right? No, you need 4. Actually, you need 5. You see what I mean? Because every time you use the word white, every time you say, no, it applies to this sample, you're going to need another chart to say, well, it matches this. At some point, you're going to have to say, no, I just knew that the word white applies to that sample. And if you can do that, you might as well just have said, look, I can just apply the word white to this without any of that stuff in the mind. I just do it. So that's all that happens when you're learning colour words. Whoever's teaching you applies the colour words to a whole bunch of things. And after a bit, you apply the colour words to a whole bunch of things. And you can just forget this stuff running through the head. It doesn't matter, it doesn't count, it doesn't do any work. That's not what keeps us together in our use of language. We generally apply the colour words to just the same things as each other. We all agree that was white, that's all right. But if you ask, what is the explanation of that? How come we all agree in applying the word white in just the same cases? There is no explanation. We just do agree on the application of the word white in particular cases, and that's the end of the story. And it's natural to say, well, what is it that keeps us together? And the answer is there isn't really anything that keeps us together. We just do use these words in the same way, and it just comes to a stop there. What about this is a cube? Well, you get the same point. If I'm going to explain to you what the words for the shapes mean, you say, here are some cubes, here are some things that are not cubes, here's how the word cube is used. What do you have to do to figure out the meaning of the word cube? Having an image of a cube in your head doesn't do any work. That's just another example of a cube for you to apply the words to. All that really matters is that we should apply the words in just the same cases. And as keeping together is just itself the fundamental fact. Everything else in human civilization depends on us all agreeing on the ways that we use words in these simple basic cases. But there is nothing that explains it. Here's Stanley Cavell explaining Wittgenstein's main point here. He says, the way it goes is we learn and teach words in certain contexts, and then we're expected, and we expect others, to be able to project them into further contexts. So once you've learned to use the word with some examples, you are then able to use the word in connection with new examples. That projection into further contexts, nothing ensures that the projection will take place. In particular, there's no grasping of universals. There's nothing like grasping the thought. This is the collapse of civilization. There's nothing like the grasp of the general formula, x+1, grasping a book of rules, something that tells you how to use the word in particular cases. So nothing is ensuring that the projection of the use of the word into new context takes place, just as nothing ensures that you and I are going to make and understand the same projections as one another. There is nothing holding us together. That, on the whole, we do make the same projections. That's a matter of us sharing roots of interest and feeling, senses of humour and of significance and of fulfilment, senses of what is outrageous, of what is similar to what else, what is a rebuke, what forgiveness. We just operate in the same way in all these particular cases. We react similarly in lots of particular cases. We have a similar sense of when someone's making an assertion, when it's an appeal, when it's an explanation. Sharing between us all the whirl of organism that Wittgenstein calls forms of life. Human speech and activity, sanity and community rest